Hey everyone, just want to encourage you to find us on your listening platform and give us a rating. Anywhere you listen to that has a rating system, go on over and give us a rating and maybe leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. These ratings really do help. Thank you so much for listening. On to this week's episode. Twist the bones and bend the back. Trim him of his baby fat. Give him fur back as black, just
like this.
Maybe this is fitting. Am I the Winifred of the three of us? Who knows? We'll determine that.
You think you're the Winifred? That's so funny.
I don't actually. Maybe. I hope I'm not. Even though Winifred is dope. Whatever. We're covering Hocus Pocus and Hocus Pocus 2 because, of course, we are. We're millennials. We're excited to talk about this. I'm Nicole.
I'm Rolando.
And this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
An original podcast
about unoriginality. Now, of course, you're immediately going to be a nonconformist and contradict the whole excited to talk about this episode.
Yeah, okay. We'll just get right out. Did you want a Hocus Pocus sequel?
It's not that I wanted it. I will take it. You know, they were like, oh, hey, here's a sequel 29 years later. 29 years later,
yeah. We were like so close to the 30. They couldn't wait the year.
Yeah, seriously. And it was like, okay, sure. I'll take it.
But let's really be honest here. Really, really honest.
Yeah.
Is this movie so good that it deserves this cult following?
Well, that is total opinion, right? This movie has such a deep cult following, though, for millennials, particularly straight women. I find that almost every straight woman I love has a Hocus Pocus mug, has a sweatshirt. It's like their ritual while drinking, pumpkin spiced coffees. And it's like, I'm not judging, but these are like stereotypes.
How many straight women are these? I mean, I know one, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know you to know many straight women.
I know plenty of straight women.
Whether
I hang out with them is no.
Whether he knows what mugs they drink from, that's a different story.
I mean, literally, the women that I know post these mugs and then they comment on each other's mugs. So
wow.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a huge fan base.
Are they Disney adults though?
Yes, some of them are Disney adults. Some of them are like Halloween is my Christmas or whatever.
Oh God, that whole personality is a little exhausting. I like Halloween, but like, let's calm down here. Let's keep it to one day, maybe 2 weeks.
True, and nothing beats Christmas.
We don't need to start. Yeah, No, I do prefer Halloween over Christmas. That's not true. I'm lying to myself.
Yeah, come on, Christmas is better.
I mean, I like the holiday season over, but I think Halloween is a lot of fun, like the fall season. But like,
yeah,
the people that start decorating like for Halloween, like in September, it's just like, all right, like I get it. You really took this trend and ran with it.
That's true. I don't know. I'm trying to think of another film that could compete with the popularity of Hocus Pocus for, a certain age group. Maybe Mean Girls.
Yeah, Mean Girls. I mean, Mean Girls is a good one. I think that's going to have like its longevity also.
Yeah. People really like Halloween content, like Nightmare Before Christmas still has a strong fan base with older people, not just children.
Which is funny because I think that's more of a Christmas movie.
Yeah. It's both, I guess. But, it mends itself.
The plot is about Christmas.
Yeah, but it's all spooky.
That doesn't mean that it's not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, but it also mends itself for Halloween.
Just because it takes place in Halloween Town does not make it a Halloween movie. It is a Christmas movie. He's literally trying to bring Christmas into Halloween.
I know, but he's in Halloween Town for like majority of the film.
I know, but that's the whole point. He's trying to bring them into the holiday spirit. Therefore, it is a Christmas movie.
Okay, debatable, but still, we'll pause on that one. This movie has such a strong fan base, but Disney Plus 29 years later was like, we have to make a sequel to it, and we have to capitalize off the fact that we have such a huge demographic that loves this movie. I mean, they do this whole Halloween show in the Disney World theme parks. I think Magic Kingdom only, of the Hocus Pocus Anderson sisters meeting all the villains. Like, they put this on nightly during Halloween season in Disney World.
During Mickey's Halloween party.
Yeah. And, if you go into many stores, I saw so much Sanderson Sisters content when I was in Disney World recently. So, it's a cash grab for them, which is shocking because when Hocus Pocus came out, it was a box office failure.
Yeah, no, I knew this.
So this cult following, has been like really hardcore developed as the children who grew up on this movie got turned into adults essentially.
Well, I mean, you know what? I mean, you know how we got like brainwashed into this film, right?
I love the energy you're already meeting this episode with. But yeah, tell me how did we get brainwashed?
It was constantly playing on like Disney Channel and ABC Family, well, Fox Family at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They were constantly playing it during October. And I mean, that's how I came across it the first time and stuff. And then it became like a yearly rental for, October and stuff to watch.
I agree with you.
And then, that's how it became ingrained in like kind of our millennial society.
But I do think they force a lot of content on us, but not all of it sticks. This one stuck, if that's a word.
Stuck.
This one, I'm going to make that up. It's stuck.
Yeah, yes, but like, I don't think there wasn't much family Halloween content to choose from because usually when you think of October, a lot of the content ends up being like horror stuff, right? Not necessarily family friendly. Like Hocus Pocus is family friendly. Casper also comes to mind. I think that was another one that would like get shown a lot.
Yeah, but Casper is nowhere near the popularity.
It's nowhere near as popular. Yeah, I would agree. Addams Family would also get shown a lot during
that
this,
might
during
rival
this time
it.
period.
That might be one. Yeah,
I don't think Addams Family does not come anywhere near as it's quotable, but it's not as near as like.
Well, it's a different legacy. There's more to. It's not just one film. It's a lot more to it. But at least those 90s films, it was really the 90s. They were really trying to put Halloween into a family
and Halloween Town in the early aughts.
Yes,
from
another
Disney
one
Channel.
that they've really tried, and with some people maybe, but not to the heights of Hocus Pocus. I just think Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, it has
really
its cult following also.
Yeah. In 1993 when Hocus Pocus came out, they released it in July first of all, which is weird.
I was telling Eddie this. I'm just like, well, no wonder it flopped. You have a Halloween movie in July.
Seriously, they had no faith in it apparently. The filmmaker
isn't July like a blockbuster month?
It is, but it's like, why would anyone
putting
go
a Halloween
see
movie?
a movie about these Salem witches in July? And also, like, the movies that came out in 1993, Jurassic Park, Mrs. Doubtfire, The Fugitive, like this is what the competition was. Hocus Pocus didn't really have a chance. And the filmmaker, Kenny Ortega, this was his second. And I mean, like, he didn't direct until like High School Musical 3 after Hocus Pocus. But
is he Hispanic?
I think so. Actually, I don't know too much about his background.
Wow.
But I'll tell you right now that his first film was Newsies, which was another one that became kind of like a cult following. I'm not a member of that cult. But, like somehow.
I'm shocked. You love musicals.
Yeah, it's just not for me. I didn't grow up watching it, I think. And this is my favorite part, okay? Hocus Pocus debuted at number 4 when it came out that week. Number 1 was Free Willy.
Ew, God, I hate Free Willy so much.
I know. 29 years later, who would have thought that Hocus Pocus would get the sequel and everybody would be like, pretty much forget about Free Willy.
Well, Free Willy had 3 sequels.
Very close after, and I think the third one was like direct to VHS or something. But like,
No, I could have sworn the third one was still on the movies, wasn't it?
Maybe. Nobody's
Free
talking
Willy
about Free
comes
Willy
home?
anymore. Nobody's talking about Free Willy. Nobody's wearing Free Willy shirts.
Oh,
Getting
because
Free
of
Willy
Blackfish. Mugs. I think that one did Free Willy dirty. That movie
did Free Willy dirty. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the movie Hocus Pocus. Stars Ben Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy Najimy as a trio of witches named their sisters, the Sanderson sisters. They were alive in Salem in the 1690s, and they got hung for their witchcraft treachery because they were stealing the souls of children. They put a curse on themselves that, if a virgin were to light a black flame candle, they could be resurrected. And it's not until 1993 when we meet Max and his little sister Danny, and he trying to impress this girl Allison, lights the black flame candle, and the Sanderson sisters are resurrected. It's pretty much, it took me well into adulthood to realize that the influence of the Sanderson sisters was the Three Stooges.
Oh, that's so funny. So, actually, Eddie, you haven't said a single word here, and I think I know why. someone is embarrassed to reveal that he had, for the first time this weekend, he saw Hocus
Oh
Pocus.
wow! So what did you think?
I found it very enjoyable.
Yeah, it's like a perfectly
a
fine
fun-
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like fine. Like it's a good. Like I enjoyed it. I found it entertaining and fun. There were moments where I was kind of rooting for the witches.
Of course.
There's something about them that's kind of adorable.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say something like, "Oh, we want to eat kids," and then I'm like, "Oh, I can't root for you."
Yeah.
So when you said Three Stooges, it reminded me that Eddie said this like halfway through the movie, like, "Oh, they like this Three Stooges," and I was just like, "Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
They are."
Yeah. Well, I mean, when
'Cause
you grow
I-
up watching
yeah.
it, that doesn't resonate. Yeah.
I mean, unlike a lot of my millennial friends, apparently I haven't seen this movie since like I guess high school maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like a rewatcher. Like once I grew out of it, I was just like, all right, cool. And I knew, I still know all the references. I've seen it enough times to know it, but it was a fun rewatch, especially with someone who had never seen it, because I was just curious. I'm like, what is he gonna think as someone who has just not been enveloped by this culture, right? Like this love of the Sanderson sisters.
Yeah, and
you said straight
liked
women,
it.
by the way, but also gay men. Gay men
Gay
love
culture
the
too.
Sanderson
I would say so. I mean, I feel like the real big one might be straight women, but to rival it would be gay culture, particularly gay men.
Mhm.
Because
Same thing with Mean Girls.
yes, same thing with Mean Girls, absolutely. Because at the end, I don't, hey, straight men and lesbians are fans too, but this is like the big demographic. I think it's because Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy, the way that they play these witches, yes, it's very Three Stooges, but it's also like they're just camping it up, and it's almost borderline, like drag queeny.
Oh no, totally, yeah. I mean, that's why you have seen drag queens. I mean, there was a reference. I mean, we'll get to it.
We'll get to that with the second one, but like, yeah, they're just like everything's turned to 11. It's just so theatrical. It's just so silly. They're having so much fun with it, and they're like really just getting lost in the characters. And then their costumes are fabulous, and it's just like it's so much fun that like I think that's why people love this movie too, is because it's like a it's escapism and all this stuff, but it's like harmless, even though they are witches, and there is some, and then they perform. And Bette Midler gets to show off her incredible musical skills. And then there's like the three of them are so different. They all bring something to the table that everyone has one that they can relate to, or they have a favorite. Like it's just very appealing in that sort of sense.
Well, that's so funny that you should say that, because upon rewatching it, I don't think Sarah Jessica Parker is kind of forgettable in this role.
Oh, you think so? She has some of my favorite moments in the movie, though.
I mean, obviously, like, let's be real. Like, Bette Midler is front and center star. Obviously, she has the most lines in the whole film.
Yeah.
Catherine Najimy is, I would say, the underdog, right? Because when I was growing up, I was, I was like, she was like maybe my least favorite Sanderson sister. But now, as the adult watching it, I'm like, oh no, she's easily the best one.
I also think the underdog is her and Bette Midler's chemistry. Because a lot of times, and why you say Sarah Jessica Parker is the weak one, because Sarah Jessica Parker sometimes in the background is just going off by herself.
Yeah, right.
Then like it's really all about Kathy and Bette, and they clearly get along, and they clearly really like each other, and they bounce off of one another so well. But yeah, I do think that Kathy Najimy actually is the real scene stealer of the first movie. I mean, like, well, obviously it's
body
Bette
language
Midler.
to her.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, Bette Midler is a star, but like,
yeah,
but Kathy Najimy can hold her own against Bette on screen, like, and it's like when rewatching this, I'm just like saying, it's like, oh yeah, Kathy's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, Sarah Jessica Parker was good in this role too.
I mean, I like though that because she's just like off doing her own thing, that she's just doing random shit, like she's either eating a spider or, like looking for her rat tails or just like jumping up and down.
Around.
Yeah. And when I was younger, I just thought she was the hottest thing, because obviously she was really hot in that first movie. So, and then the kids were cute. But the big thing about the first movie that I think also people really like about it is that there's a talking cat in it. You can't beat the talking cat, and
those effects
and
hold
it
up.
works. Yeah. And you actually become emotionally connected to it. Like, I mean, did you ever kind of get emotional at the end when Thackeray Banks, Spoiler
Oh yeah, when I was
alert.
a kid.
Yeah, it like hits, because you learn to love that poor boy and what happened.
I would
to
argue
him
it's because of Thora Birch's great acting.
yeah, she had to hold her own along a fake cat,
Yeah, no, it's just
That's good child acting for sure. Yeah.
Zendaya could never.
And
I'm sorry, that's the only child actress that I could think of at the moment. Of course she could. She has won 2 Emmys.
also, Omri Katz being Max. Leonardo DiCaprio was supposed to be Max.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would have been because back then he was kind of twerpy looking.
Well, he chose to do What's Eating Gilbert Grape instead.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess he won out.
So yeah, imagine though if this was in his filmography. But yeah, Hollywood.
He would have because if this was in his filmography,
Mm-hmm.
let's say his career never changed outside the fact that he was in this film, he would just completely what is it? He'd be snobby about it. He would not
He wouldn't talk about
ever
it
want
or
to
whatever.
acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, because he has this weird persona now where he's just like so
Very
serious.
high, yeah, and it's just like,
Yeah.
dude, you bang like 26-year-olds. Actually, that's not true. You stop banging them when they're 26.
There you go.
You're not a good guy here.
Yeah, weird. Eddie, did you have like a favorite scene?
The music number, I think, is the one that when they finish.
Hell yeah. Is that it? The musical number?
Yeah, I think the music number was it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
put
the
a
music
spell on
number
you.
is
It's
great, yeah.
You know why? It's because I saw them kind of like back to back, like one day and the other. Now, so like they mesh in my head as one long movie.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess we'll talk about this. We'll talk about the first one. We'll talk about the first one now,
We're talking
right?
about the first one, yeah.
So
yes.
I think just the overuse of the word virgin in the first one was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I just like him being a virgin too was just kind of like, come on, I feel like I don't know.
It's true. The word virgin got dropped so many times. You
Yeah.
would have thought you were like in Catholic school.
Yeah, it was a little weird. It was like the 90s just casually doing this. Okay. Yeah. I agree. It was kind of weird. And it's not something you think about until you're older, right? You just kind of like process that all when you're a child.
Yeah, because I mean, when I watched it as a kid, I don't even think I knew fully. Like when I first saw this, I had no idea what that meant, like to be a virgin, right?
Yeah. Yeah, me neither.
Like it didn't occur, despite the fact that at that point I already knew the Virgin Mary, but I guess it never occurred to me that sex was a big
Yes.
important component to the virginity aspect.
Yes.
But yeah, no, Eddie was right. He kept saying that. He's like, wow, they really driving this point that he's a virgin. He's a kid.
Seriously, he's like 15 or 16. Yeah, I think 16. I think that's it. Yeah. I like the scenes where they just came back to 1993 and they don't know like what cement looks like, so they think it's a black river. And just like the comedy, like the stupid comedy that they find in like, putting these 1690 witches in 1993. I also like when they go to the Devil's house, and it's Gary Marshall and
that's
Penny
a good
Marshall.
sequence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of my favorite scenes.
It's just so stupid.
Because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and they're all like, each of them have like a great moment, with Sarah Jessica Parker calling him master, or Kathy and Jimmy watching TV. I mean, yeah, it's just so stupid. But it works.
I mean, my favorite is when they see the little girl dressed up as an angel and she's like, bless you, and they just scream.
Yeah. Yes. Hilarious. Yeah. Or when or just when they smack each other or they scream or just do Three Stooges stuff. Like they actually make the Three Stooges funny. I never really found the Three Stooges funny, but I like references to them. So yeah.
I think, but from a structural point of view, though, this film actually works because it's a pretty standard story, right?
Mhm.
Like they're chasing. I don't even think, are we chasing a MacGuffin here? There's not really a MacGuffin per se. Was it the book?
I think it was the
what
book.
were they after?
I think
They were after for the book for the first,
them, and then
for
they were
like
after
the first
book.
2 acts.
Yeah.
They were after the book for the first 2 acts, and then the third act they're trying to rescue Danny, the youngest sister.
Yes.
But outside of that, it's a solid structure in the sense of like it's a chase movie that we're watching, right? And we really just focus on either the kids or the witches, right? We don't really go off into like other tangents of other characters. We're really focusing on just those 2 groups.
Yes.
For the entirety of the film. I just want to point that out for our discussion on the sequel.
Yeah, and a major character is Book also in this one. It's a book that they have all their spells from. They're pretty much useless without this book. because that's how
Mhm.
witchcraft works in this movie. Or in this universe, and this book has an eye, so this book is alive. It's actually an entity. Actually,
The Sanderson sisters were the original Power of Three, huh? They were like the
yes.
charmed ones.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, look at that. I mean, there's a lot of lines that I think that have kind of made their way into. At least if you're a fan of Hocus Pocus, like everyone knows, like another glorious morning makes me sick, or amuck, 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 amuck. Like people just, it's a very quotable movie at the end of the day.
Oh,
So
I disagree. I don't know if that quotable, but
well, you're not part of this fan base,
Memorable.
it seems, but
this is-
people quote this movie all the time, Rolando. Like 29 years later, they had a sequel because people are obsessed. So, and it's time for us to talk about the sequel.
Hocus Pocus 2, which was first discussed out in the open as early in 2014, right? That's when Walt Disney revealed that they are working on a supernatural. They were just describing it as a supernatural comedy, right? Tina Fey was attached to the project at first, but eventually I think Variety revealed that, it's in fact a Hocus Pocus sequel. So now by 2014, we're well into this is what, at this point, like what, almost 8 years ago, right? So this movie is already like a cultural thing for like people our age, because we've seen it so many times on either TV or movie rentals, right? So it makes sense that by 2014 they were discussing the sequel. It was later that year when Bette Midler, for some reason, she was on Reddit's Ask Me Anything, revealed that, if they ask me back for a sequel, I'm definitely interested. A year later, Andy Cohen pestered his bestie Sarah Jessica Parker into revealing that maybe she's interested in also working on a sequel. And I think the movie was officially greenlit as early as 2018. I'm sorry, 2019. It was announced in October 2019 that the film was in development officially for Disney Plus, because if you guys remember back then, that's when they were about to launch that new streaming service. So this was going to be one of their things. Remember, they promised us a lot. Hocus Pocus 2 and Lizzie McGuire. So far, they've delivered only one of those two promises. Yeah. And here we are with Hocus Pocus 2.
Yep. It had actually the biggest premiere for Disney Plus's platform, I think, based on the amount of hours watched in the first 3 days. It was their best Disney Plus premiere.
I believe it. I think it. That movie Bros in theater, how it flopped?
Totally flopped.
I think a big part of it is that people stayed home to watch Hocus Pocus 2.
I agree.
I genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
It's just like, they were screwed. I mean, I know a lot of people don't want to see rom-coms, but more people definitely saw this than Bros.
Well, also,
which is a shame.
Rolando, you're a testament to not wanting to go to the theater unless it's for certain things. So that I think is a reason for it. But also, like, Billy Eichner was like the strays didn't support. I'm like, well, I don't think the gays did either. Like, I think that people are just not going to the theater as much as they used to for
but if
films
we're going
like this
by
caliber.
Yeah, but I mean, out of my circle, a lot of homosexuals, I'm led to believe, had seen Bros, and had recommended it.
Did you see it?
No, I had not.
Did
I do
you-
want to go see it.
I want to see it too, but whatever. Hocus Pocus 2, had it been released in theaters, would you have gone opening weekend?
No.
There you go.
Probably not.
See?
Like, I definitely.
Yeah, people just don't want to support movies in the theater anymore.
Which is important to how I do consume this film, though, and how I take it all in at the end when I'm making my final opinion on the film.
Yeah. I will also...
It's important. It is important for me to recognize that if this movie had come out in theaters, would I have seen it? No. Therefore, my standard of judgment has to change for how I judge this as a film.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense in its own way. I will say that it was actually, I think it was a good choice to not release it theatrically. I mean, one, it flopped theatrically, but this film found its audience when it was, in the home video /
the home, home consumption.
Also, like, just being played on Disney Channel or on ABC Family or whatever. So they kind of knew that this was the best route for them to go. And it was a huge success. I'm pretty sure, like Hocus Pocus 2, everyone was making plans that I saw on social media of people watching it this weekend, at least in the millennial fan base. I don't know if...
I mean, my TikTok was full of ladies showing you how to make like charcuterie boards to honor the Sanderson sisters
Yeah.
this weekend, right? Some of them were cute. I wanted to do them, but
Yeah.
unfortunately I had a sprained ankle and couldn't really have a get together.
I had a watch party with someone who made a charcuterie board. So that
Did they
must
make a
be
Sanderson
thing.
sister charcuterie board?
Yes.
Like they made it look like the Sanderson sisters? She probably saw the same TikTok as I
Yeah,
did.
that's true. I should tell them to post it on TikTok. Yeah, I didn't even realize that that's what they were doing until I was like, hey, that kind of looks like Winifred. Yeah, and it's interesting too because, well, okay, let's just talk about the plot of this movie before I say that. This
It's
place
all over the place.
takes 29. It takes place 29 years later, and 2022, we have these 3 new characters. It's no longer Max, Allison, and Danny. We get 3 girls who are all in the same grade. Their names are, what are their names? Becca, Izzy, and their estranged friend, Cassie.
Cindy? Oh, Cassie. Okay.
And Becca's played by Whitney Peak, Izzy by Belissa Escobedo, and Cassie by Lilia Buckingham.
I don't know if that's
Lilia Buckingham. I just don't want to say the poor girl's name wrong. Yeah, they're 3 friends, but they had a falling out with Cassie because Cassie had a boyfriend, and Cassie's now like hanging out with kind of like the quote unquote cool kids. And Becca and Izzy, they're kind of they're into witchcraft. They don't fit the popular definition, I suppose, in their high school. And
yeah, these girls are like into brujeria, basically, right? Like
kind of, yeah. Like they have like protection stones with them to help them with the pop quiz, or like they apparently say chants to the pack to the point where if she just randomly says a bunch of words to taunt this guy, he actually believes she's putting a curse on him. But he's also we're led to believe he's a complete idiot.
Yeah, he's one of the most annoying characters I think I've seen in a long time.
Oh, really? I didn't find him as annoying.
Really?
I
think it was.
To be honest,
it was
nobody
so
in this movie annoyed me that much. So.
Oh, he did. He was so annoying. Actually, so was the mayor, played by Buster from Arrested Development.
Tony Hale.
Tony, thank you. I thought I take issue with some of the character developments on this movie, and I know it's kind of a dumb thing to say for a Disney Plus original, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like I'm not asking for like gold here, but I think they spread themselves too thin by introducing too many characters that I don't care about. Just really, the whole appeal of the original film is that I got to focus on these 3 kids, 2, mind you, who are forming like a relationship.
Yeah.
And one who is the little sister, so there's an automatic protection that you feel towards her, right?
Well, technically it's
So
4 characters because there's Thackeray Binks.
No, the cat don't count.
The cat counts. He's the one that makes you cry at the end when he dies.
And then the sisters. So you forgot to mention that like we open on the sisters, right? We get an origin story for the sisters.
Yes, we get an origin story.
Who, by the way, there's a little girl. Is she related to Bette Midler?
Yeah, good question.
Because if she is not, someone give her an Oscar.
Her name is Taylor Henderson, and as far as I know, I don't know if she related.
She must have watched so much of the original Hocus Pocus because she got those mannerisms down packed.
Yeah, no, she did a good job. Yeah.
But no, yeah. So, but my qualm here is that like a lot of there were so many characters that were being introduced throughout this movie that it's just like, oh, that's all. Like, just give me. I would have been fine just focusing on Becca and her 2 friends. We don't need all these characters.
Okay. Yeah.
Including, for example, the magician shop owner
Gilbert.
who gives the, mind you, and I like the actor. I actually do like him. But he's the one who gives the girls a candle because he wants them to light it in order to resurrect the Sanderson sister. Because spoiler alert, he was there on the night the Sanderson sisters first rose from the dead, and so he was trying to bring them back.
Mm-hmm.
And once the sisters are back, instead of like trying to create that life spell, they decide we're just gonna use a spell that makes us the most powerful witches ever.
Yeah.
And that is the plot of the film, right? She is after the spell components to make her the most powerful witch ever. Becca and her friends are trying to stop her. That includes Tony Hale's character, who is the mayor of the town because he is the ancestor of one of the people that Winifred hated, and therefore she needs the blood of the descendant.
Yeah. And the backstory, the origin story, it really kind of shows that Winifred's always kind of been slightly delusional and very aggressive in a lot of ways. You know, like we don't even see her, and she's just like charging her way through like a crowd just to get home for some reason. I think it's like her birthday. I mean, it is her birthday, but like I don't know why she's like, you know, bumping into everyone on her way home. She's mad. It's just who she is. It's just like her energy.
The mayor was going to betroth her to some guy she didn't want to marry.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and then
that's which I understand her frustration. Like
that, I understand.
Yeah, for like, I mean, considering like I didn't need a Sanderson sister origin story, I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it
right?
either. Yeah.
I don't know if I needed. I just don't know if I needed it. Is the thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, yeah. This whole movie is, like you said, definitely not needed too. We also got like a little bit more of a backstory to the Billy Butcherson story, like whose boyfriend was he, and pretty much like Winifred being slightly delusional was like she was my boyfriend even though they shared one kiss, and she was just a young kid
Doug
in love
Jones.
with him. Yes, again, the same guy who played Billy Butcherson in the first one.
Yeah, the Doug Jones. For anyone who doesn't know, but he
Guillermo
is
del
usually.
Toro.
Yeah, yes, he's usually the one that you'll see in a lot of prosthetic makeup and stuff. That's like his calling card. Like if there's a character that's in heavy prosthetics, it's usually him.
Yeah. So we kind of get an origin story about how the witches got their power, and essentially there was, you know, a witch who wanted to, you know, steal their souls for herself, but then she realized the power that was in Winifred, and that she kind of encouraged them to become witches, which was like, okay, like, you know, everything was like fine. It wasn't like, ooh, that's why, or it wasn't particularly engaging. It was just, you know, okay, sure, I'll take this. I accept it.
All right, and again, I know we're jumping around here, but sorry, guys. But why introduce this character if we're not going to like use her?
See her again
at all?
Especially when they imply that she's there, because like when we go to modern day Salem, you know, they like one of the first shots we see is the same eagle in the sky or whatever, hawk or whatever. So it's like, okay, so she's coming back, and then we never see her again.
Yeah, like because the movie was really trying to go out of its way, I think, kind of to a fault, to not make the Sanderson sisters as evil as they were in the first one, right? They were comically evil in the first one. Here, they're trying to give them a little bit of a softer side by the end of the film. And it doesn't necessarily, I don't think it worked, in my opinion, because it, like, I don't know. It just didn't, I just feel like it didn't work. Like, I felt like it came out of left field towards the end. Like, I understand, like, the Power Sisters, and, like, I don't want them to, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, I'm jumping ahead, but
yeah. Well, also their objective is different.
It's just like but the thing is, it's just like if you introduce a character who could be adversary, who can be the foil to show like, oh, this is what real villainy looks like. Then the Sanderson sisters don't look as bad in comparison. It can even be heroes by the end, right? Instead, they're still trying to do all their evil things. And when there's a price to pay is when they like have their like, you know, have their come to Jesus moment, or like whatever the witchcraft equivalent.
Come to Satan moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree with you, because they also were like, okay, well, what do people want from a Hocus Pocus sequel? You know, they want the three women to return, obviously. They want musical numbers, and they want comedy. And we're also in 2022 where we have to be really careful, and we can't throw around the word virgin as much anymore. So, you know, I do think virgin? They were scaling it back. Yeah. So, which is interesting because, you know, this movie, we kind of get two musical numbers.
We did get two. I actually appreciate at least the first one breaks the fourth wall a little, because as the girls are being chased, I think one of them asks, is just like, who are they singing to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I actually did laugh out loud for that, because I too was asking, like, what is this musical number that we're getting? Like,
I know, like the moment
so
they come
weird.
back, they just burst into song, and you either are
the
like,
witch is back.
This is what I've been waiting for, or you're like, what?
That is not what I was waiting for.
Yeah,
I know the opposite. I was just.
I know that's what you were not waiting for. You might be someone. The listener might be someone who.
Of
that
course,
was for.
I wanted a musical number. I needed it to be organic, as it was in the original film.
Yeah, well, that's what the second number is.
Yes, the lesser song. One way or another, I'm just like, ugh.
I like that one.
I love
you
that
liked
song.
it.
That's such a great song. Yeah.
The song is fine, but like, how is it witchy?
I think it's because they're gonna get you.
Witches.
You know,
Like, there's no way you could escape them one way or another.
we couldn't do Superstitious by the great
Stevie
damn.
Wonder.
Thank you, Stevie Wonder. Like,
No, it's also just like it's too like it's not as upbeat, right? Like they wanted something where it's like, you know, like the like Superstition's too like jazzy. It wouldn't have fit, I think.
yeah, change it up a little.
Yeah, true.
I mean, geez.
Lyrically, I don't know if I think the song choice was totally
Bette
fine.
Midler could have done it.
Bette Midler
Actually-
can do anything.
No, this movie proved it. She's like, as much as I could complain about this film, because I do have complaints about it, I do think Bette Midler absolutely 100% committed to the role.
29 years, she hasn't skipped a beat in this role.
Yeah, no, her, Kathy Najimy, and even Sarah Jessica Parker, like, they committed.
Yeah.
And I respect. It's just like, you know what? Respect where we're given. Like, this is a Disney Plus original movie. You did not have to do this work.
Okay, well,
But they did.
I think I agree, but I do think that some of the material that particularly Kathy Najimy was given was not up to what she deserved, right? Because we said that she was like kind of like the showstopper, the scene stealer in the original film, you know, and she's like the secret glue there. But in this movie, I just felt like all of her jokes felt flat.
Oh, really?
Like when she's on like the little
the Roombas?
and she goes
Oh my God.
cowabunga. It's like, why is she saying cowabunga? Like that, I just didn't find that funny.
Whoa, hang on. We could take issue with that, but then we had to take issue then with the first movie when Winifred is like, pull over.
What
Show
did
me
she
your
say?
license. Just like, all right, when she's like on the broom chasing the kids and she pulls up like next to
Oh my gosh, I
Max
totally
in the
forgot
car.
that. Wow, you
and then
remember
she says,
that.
pull over.
Good, yeah.
Pull over.
That's a good
Show
one.
me your license. It's just like, how would she know that? How would she know that?
No, that's a good
we
one,
have to
yeah. But it's,
you have to forgive here.
I do forgive, but as a joke, it felt flat because I'm also used to Sarah being like the secret glue, the one who's like always going to come through and clutch and make me laugh. So they always just like,
Mary.
you're right, Mary. My apologies. So I'm just used to like, wait a minute, Mary's lines are just not working for me. I don't know. Like they just were like meh to me.
I think Mary was a little more physical comedy. This one, I actually enjoy, like there was something physically funny about seeing her on those Roomba. That was funny.
Yeah.
And mind you, this is like a joke that was kind of already foretold in the posters. They should have held on to it because
Yeah, it would have been funny.
Hilarious about just seeing her like, you know, like almost like skiing.
Well, I think
the sky,
Mary was also
rollerblading.
I think Mary was also kind of sacrificed so that they could give more for Sarah, played by Sarah Jessica Parker. Because in the first one, she's just kind of in the background, and Sarah Jessica Parker wasn't a star back then. I mean, now this is post Sex and the City, major star Sarah Jessica Parker. So they're like, okay, she kind of has to be second to Bette Midler and not Kathy Najimy.
Right, because she got second billing too. So.
Yeah. So I think that's also why I'm a little disappointed with what. I'm not disappointed in Kathy Najimy. I'm disappointed with what she had to work with. I don't think it was, you know, worth her and what she brings to the table.
Every time she just kept threatening the girls in the Walgreens. Like she was, I don't know. Yeah, Kathy Najimy, like, yeah, nowhere near as strong material as in the first one, but still, I thought she was great regardless. And
she's great. It could have been. They just could have given her better material. I'm mad for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I'm not upset with her.
This just reminds me one thing. I was really mad that like we spent like 15 minutes at Walgreens for this movie
Yeah.
because it was talk about product placement. It was just like Eddie made a good point while watching it. Just like, well, it makes sense, right? Like we're very youth oriented, as like very youth culture oriented. So the Walgreens would be the place for the witches to go, and you could make a comment about that. But for me, it felt more like product placement.
Yeah, like, oh, retinol. That's a great name for a deceased boy or something.
Retinol is not like a brand. That's
No, I know, but still, like after a while, the jokes are just like, okay, we get it. Move on.
right.
Move on.
Yeah, even that I don't mind. It was just the setting, I guess. I just feel like Walgreens paid big money to have it set in their store.
Okay.
And it showed.
Okay. Sure.
Right? Like I could just see, and that's just and this is probably me as someone who does work in production, who just like I could just see behind the veil on that one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be just commentary about these big corporate franchises, kind of like in these small towns, kind of taken away from the mom and pops.
Look at Eddie, always looking at the positives.
I think I don't see it, but that could have been actually. You actually could have done a little if this was again, it's a Disney Plus original.
Yeah.
Like, but I, you know what? That's not a bad read, and I actually, okay, fine, I could take it.
Yeah. Do they don't really go to many other, like, they go to the main town in Salem, and then
they go to,
after
like,
that they just go to the house where they're trapped in the circle, and then they go to the forest, right? So those are the locations.
Those are like the settings. Yeah, like the festival.
Okay.
The Halloween festival.
So yeah, that the Halloween festival, that's where the musical number happens, and that's where on stage are a bunch of Sanderson costumes that are like having like a costume challenge or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 3 drag queens on stage.
Was Mystique Plastique Tiara was one of them,
Plastique
right?
Tiara. Kimora Hall was actually that playing Sarah. Cornbread.
Kimora Hall?
Kimora Hall was the one who, we're all rooting for you.
Oh, that's Kimora. Okay,
That's
I know.
Kimora
Yes,
Hall.
yes.
Cornbread and Ginger Minge.
And Ginger. I thought so.
And these are
You know
RuPaul
what?
Drag Race queens, if you don't know.
Now
who we're
here
talking about.
is the gag of this film.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me that the winners were those 3 basic bitches and not
the drag queens? I would have raised hell. Like,
I was like, there's your joke.
yeah.
That's where you make it funny. It's just like the drag queens win. They're going up.
I know.
And now,
They gave it to like, who are those people? They're not even like real people.
right. Like, it's like, so it's just like kind of like, I just feel like you missed the mark on that one, Disney. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not here to judge, but I just feel like, was it just the fear of like having the drag queens too long on screen?
Well, they kept cutting back
what I
to
mean?
them like a lot.
They get for reaction shots, but like, then give them the prize. It clearly would have. Let's be real. Drag queens would have won.
Yeah, like in Massachusetts, they would have won. Maybe not in
Yeah.
Mississippi. Sorry.
Right.
I'm
exactly.
just being real.
So yeah, I just felt the homophobia Disney is showed.
But yeah, and then of course the Sanderson sisters don't win, and they're outraged because they're like, "What?" But then
Yeah, they're the real. But yeah.
yeah, but then they want Tony Hale. They want the mayor because I think in order for Winifred her goal in this movie is that she wants like the ultimate power, right? Like she was warned when she was 16 years old
Maxima.
to get the Magica Maxima power, and they were like, "Don't do it." Pretty much the book was like, "Don't do it. It's just bad."
Which is dumb. Why is there a spell then?
Yeah, right? Like here's a spell, but don't do it.
Like both the witch and the book say no. It's just like, okay, but
because we get a more and more in the second movie that the book itself is his own person
yeah, yes,
too. So and it almost seems that the book cares because the book, they get the book. We find out in the origin story is they get I thought originally they make a comment that they got this book directly from the devil.
yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's what the legend was.
So,
right?
but it's like they get it from another witch sister, which they refer to as mother, and so they get this book, but they're kids when they get it. I mean, the oldest one is 16, so he's basically been part of this trio for quite some time with them, and now he knows them, so he knows that the ultimate sacrifice would be what the ultimate sacrifice would be.
Yeah.
Get such
Yeah,
power.
like, oh yeah, don't do it if you want it, because what's going to happen is that you have to sacrifice something. And what Winifred comes to learn too late, spoiler alert, guys, is that she has to sacrifice the thing she loves most in life, which are her 2 sisters.
Right.
So at the end, after she's she's got Gilbert to assist her in getting everything she needs to complete the spell, the head of a lover, all these other things.
Where Billy Butcherson comes back.
Yeah.
Okay, before we just get to the ending, this is the other thing that kind of drove me a little crazy. We didn't need these scenes of Gilbert and Billy Butcherson like waltzing around town, like collecting these things. You know what I mean? This is what I meant. It's just like the movie was spreading itself too thin. Like,
Yeah.
I
just
don't know.
give-
I mean,
felt,
I wasn't bothered by it.
I
me
was
either. I was like, I don't know. It's because I feel like each movie you only like the movie itself in the sense of time within the movie is only a couple of hours. It's Halloween, right? It's
Right.
Halloween night. So everything has to happen within a couple of hours. So it's like the rise of the sisters and the fall of the sisters in 4 or 5 hours, right? And sometimes that makes, I felt like the town felt small because of it in the first movie.
Mm.
But in the second movie, I got more sense of other characters and people living in this town and being part of this legend of the sisters. You know, the sisters are now looked of more fondly in this time period, right? Similar to how we see now the Wicked Witch of the West from Oz.
Mm.
And this time period in this generation now looks more fondly and understanding.
Yeah.
To the Wicked Witch. The same idea with the sisters. So to have this, and also I'm a big fan of these actors too. I thought that was just pretty cool. I don't know. I enjoyed the little side story that was going on there.
I mean, did I need it? No, but did it distract me or did it bother me? No. I thought everything actually pretty much worked in this film, because usually when you get a film that is like a sequel or a revival of something, you know, that is this old or that people have been dying for, they'll bring people back and it's like this big thing, like, oh, they throw a ball and then somebody catches a ball and then like camera zooms in and it's this person from the original film. Like they always make such a big moment out of that. And it's almost like what these movies become. This movie doesn't have any of that. These are all new characters. Other than the three witches, no one has returned, and they're really just
Billy Butcherson,
just Billy and the sisters, and they're just telling a different story here. And this is the story that they happen to tell, and this is, you know, the side story that they happen to tell in this movie. So it didn't bother. I mean, like, do I think it's the greatest movie? No, but at the same time, I thought it was perfectly fine.
I mean, it's definitely better than their previous Disney Plus release, Pinocchio.
Oh my god, yeah, that was no good, guys. Back to the Maxima, what was it, Magica Maxima or something?
Magica Maxima.
She has to sacrifice. Yeah, and she has to sacrifice something, ends up being her two sisters. And then the movie kind of takes a shift tone, or a tone shift or whatever. And her sisters pretty much, you know, they disappear. They're sacrificed
they disappeared
for
like
this
in
spell.
The Infinity War, you know.
Okay, I didn't see that, so
Turned
I'll
to
take your
dust.
word for that.
You haven't seen the memes? My God.
I know, I ignore it. And then Winifred realizes, like, holy shit, what did I do? And it actually becomes like this emotional moment where she realizes that, like, you know, everything we've seen in the first movie and so far in the second movie, you know, her desire for power, her desire to live forever, this witchcraft, it actually kind of means nothing, because now her two sisters are no longer with her, and all of that disappears, and Winifred becomes vulnerable. And she's just like, you know what? I don't want this. What did I do? I realized too late what I wanted. To the point where, like, Book was trying to tell her the whole goddamn movie, don't do it, don't do it. And then after she did it, they like cut to Book, and Book is like shedding a tear because, you know, he's seeing this person that he loves so dearly, you know, reap the error of her ways. And it was an emotional moment, you know, like, I'm very easily susceptible to these things, but I was like, this is kind of getting me here. I mean, what did you think? Did that kind of like work for you? Did it not work for you?
Then it didn't not work for me. Like, it was fine. It makes me feel so heartless. But,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, it was just kind of like, how do you resolve this film in? Well, I looked at the clock and I was like, well, we still have like 22 minutes, so like, there's got to be a way to resolve this. Spoiler, guys, 14 of those minutes are credits.
Yeah. Oh my God. Seriously, Disney Plus has a problem with that. Well, it worked for me because at the end of the day, too, I've been watching movies for a long time, and there's not many of them that show the importance and the beauty of sisterhood. They exist, but there's just not a lot, and you don't realize how kind of starved you are for content until you get it, and you're like, wow, movies never go in this direction.
You need more Frozen in your life?
Is that the only example you have? Because like 2 movies, Rolando, 2.
Too many, in my opinion.
Well, another witch movie like this is Practical Magic.
Yes, yeah, like, and they usually have to do with witches. You know, that's the only time sisterhood exists.
Yeah, sisterhood exists, but not only
that's true.
It is, but it is interesting in that it speaks to Bette Midler's acting ability.
Yeah.
But in that moment, that minute when she realizes it and her face changes, and just the tone of her voice, and it just draws you in and you feel for her. you feel for her, and it's like it's one of these moments, like those kind of moments. Is like, oh, I wish you were the good guy, and because I'll be rooting for you, but I'm rooting for you right now to make the right decision or whatever that it is.
Yes.
So you can be with your sisters again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
and then you realize it too. You're like, yeah, no, that's like what we love is the three of them together. Like the dynamic changes when they're not there, and Bette Midler has the screen all to herself. And she delivers, honestly, like for a 76-year-old actress who's reprising this role from 29 years earlier. She's doing one hell of a job. So, I appreciate the shit out of Bette Midler. And I think, like I'm so happy for her, because people don't really, this gay community now, this gay culture now doesn't really talk about Midler other than outside of Hocus Pocus. So it's like nice. She's getting maybe a little bit of a revival or something.
I thought she was wonderful in this film.
No, yeah, I think she was really great.
Like I like when I finished the film, I was just like, you know what, Bette Midler, she still got it. The weight of this film was not entirely on her shoulders, but she did carry a bulk of it, I would say.
No, she did, yeah. And it's also like you expect all the beats to be similar from the first film. So when you get to that beat where it's like the conclusion, sunrise is about to happen, they're about to disappear, they have to, complete the spell or what. It, when it actually differentiates from it and goes in a completely different direction that you weren't expecting, it was just nice. I thought it was successful. And so to me, I thought this movie was good. I didn't ask for this movie. I never wanted this movie. But to me, I thought this movie was good.
Oh, are you maybe blinded by your love of like the nostalgia of the
maybe. Well, if you were coming from the perception that this was a bad movie, then you could use the word blinded. But I will say I was influenced by my love for the original. I grew up loving that film. But at the same time, who is this movie made for? It's made for us who grew up watching this movie, loving it, who wanted to see these women do it again, which is why we got 2 musical numbers and it was only comedy. And they were focused on the sisterhood aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fully aware that this movie was made for like someone like me who grew up with this film and like does appreciate it. And even rewatching it, realizing then only like this past weekend was like, oh no, this is I understand why this movie is so loved for this holiday season, right? With that said, upon finishing the sequel, I thought good is not what I would describe it. Mediocre is what I would describe
Serious?
it. And here's where I think for me, it's just like I think where the movie shines is when the Sanderson sisters are on screen. But I think sometimes the jokes do feel flat. They do get repetitive. I think going off into all these different characters' stories, I just didn't need that per se. I really would have just been happy focusing on Becca and her friendship group, right? And then using that, like the film tries to do at the end, like it's just like when Winifred says, "You're so lucky to have your friends," is that what she said, right? Because they're like the equivalent to her sisters. Mm-hmm. It's just like that point could have been made a little bit stronger if the focus of the film really focused on these 2 girls and the one girl really mending their friendship, right? If it didn't just happen in like a scene.
I don't disagree with you that like some of the jokes fell flat, and I do think that the main 3 characters could have been a little bit more explored because they didn't feel as fully realized as say Max
even
and
like
Danny
Becca's like
and Allison
magic
did.
felt like a little bit like not entirely developed. You know what I mean? Like we could have been getting like more hints of that earlier in the film and stuff. Like
Yeah, but
I'm just saying it's just like for a film, it was just like I thought it was like mediocre. I actually thought, and this is why I said it's just like judging it based off of a film that I saw at the theater or if I saw this at home. I think the movie for me felt like a Disney Channel original film, right? That's what it felt like through and through. And if I'm going by that metric, this was a fine film, right? And I think that's okay. But overall, I do think it's a mediocre film, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Is how I felt. It was a mediocre film. Eddie, you seem to have disagreed.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And that's great, considering you actually didn't
I have no nostalgia for this.
Exactly. So, and I'll be the first to admit, like, on Rotten Tomatoes, like, it has a solid 60, which is, like,
way more than the first one.
Yeah, true.
Way more than the first one.
The first one was panned critically.
And it's still still the same role.
I mean, having said that, I agree with you. I do think that those things are just kind of like, the side dish to the main course here, which are the Sanderson sisters. And in terms of their storyline and in terms of their performances, I think if that didn't deliver, this would have not worked. And it did deliver, and that's why I think this movie was. I don't think it was great. I don't think it. When I say good, my metrics are not like top 10 of the year, but I still think that it was. I think it was like pretty. I think it was good, medium, right? I'm not like low, high. I'm pretty like medium about it.
Oh, so that's where I feel. Yeah, so I guess we're on the same place.
I wouldn't use mediocre though. No, I think it was good.
Oh, no, then yeah, no, we're not in the same place. And I think, I'm just talking about the overall film. Like, yeah, I will praise the Sanderson sisters' performance on this one.
Yeah.
But that alone does not make it a good film, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It makes it a fine film.
You're definitely the winner, Fred, of the three of us. But who's the Sarah and who's the Mary? That's the question.
I think you might be Sarah. I think Eddie might be Mary.
Well, I guess, in terms of the bond between Winnie and Mary, then, yeah, it would be you two.
Right, yeah.
I'm just in the background doing my own thing.
The doting follower.
Yeah. Yeah. Who could smell children.
Yeah.
I'm really good at smelling children.
All right. I guess my final metric that I'm going to judge this film by is just like, will I watch this again for a Halloween season?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
Okay.
The Hocus Pocus, the original one? Yeah. Probably.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like when I have kids down the line, like this is probably gonna be a movie that like I'll probably push onto the first one. Maybe if they ask eventually, like, is there more? I'm just like, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see this one, but I'm not happy about it.
Is that how you like mainly decide for yourself whether or not a film is a success or not, whether or not you would rewatch it?
I think whether or not I would rewatch it is an important factor for me sometimes because I don't like rewatching films in general.
Oh,
right.
So then that's really tough.
Yeah, right. So if I want to rewatch it, it's just like, what a good sign. Like, nope. Nope. I've been dying to rewatch that and I haven't gotten around to it.
Okay. What if a movie like stays with you and you like, you can really remember it and like you keep thinking about it, but you don't want to rewatch it? Is it a good movie?
It depends on the movie.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have like a set metric here for me.
Yeah.
This was just like a movie that I just would probably just never watch again. Compared to the original, especially seeing them like I did with Eddie, like back to back, basically, right? We saw them one night after another.
Oh, that's cute.
And it was still like, it's just like, wow, the original, it just pales. Like if I had done the usual thing where I watch the new one first and then go back to the other one, maybe then I would have been like a little more forgiving. But to have just seen Hocus Pocus the night before, I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of a little bit of a rough watch.
Maybe that, yeah. I don't know. Well, hey, we all feel differently, but maybe that impacted your viewing of it too, comparing it immediately after the first one.
I'm more inclined to believe a lot more people would agree with me than
of course
you, and here's why. Of course, but the reason is all the buildup on my social media feed leading up to this weekend to see Hocus Pocus disappeared, and not a peep has been uttered about the film overall. Actually, the couple of peeps I saw was from the gay channels that I follow was just like starting it and then hating it and stopping like 10 minutes in.
Oh, really? Oh, wait.
Yeah.
There's a post-credit scene. Did you guys see that?
Yeah. So there's another black candle.
Yeah, they're pretty much saying there could be a third one.
God, I hope not.
I mean, they're going to die and come back again. All right, whatever. How old are they going to look this time?
I thought I was assuming that this would be it would be spin off into a series with the three girls living like the charmed life, kind of like they become the new Sanderson sisters and stuff, and it'd be like Charmed for Disney Plus and like for kids. Yeah,
obviously. Where they say virgin 8 times every episode.
They're constantly saving Salem,
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't talk about how old they look, but I don't think that's important.
I mean, like they aged 29 years. Forgive them.
Yeah,
Kathy probably aged the best in my opinion.
Yeah, she lost all that weight and stuff.
I don't think it's just that. I think it's also like I think she just hasn't plumped up her face as the other two.
Well, that's the thing. Why does Sarah Jessica Parker's facial structure look like it's changed? Like literally,
yeah.
like the shape of her face has changed.
It's called filler.
Is that what it is? Like really
Yeah.
change the shape of her face?
Why do you think, like, I mean, Bette Midler, God bless her, was trying to emote, but like all that filler in her face is just like Nicole Kidman. It's just like sometimes it's hard to move those muscles when you
guess
inject
so.
much poison
But
into them.
Nobody else's like bone structure look like they've changed as much
Yeah,
as
you
Sarah's.
get puffy, like as you get puffy, the more injectables you put. And like, you know what happened with Friends, like the Friends cast, like a lot of plastic surgeons says like the problem probably was that they just put it in like too recently. You gotta give that shit like a month to like kind of like settle. Yeah, like plastic cosmetic work is no joke, and I think she probably made the mistake of like some people do, which is just thinking like right before the event do it, but that's when your face is gonna look the puffiest.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
But yeah, but I mean, I'm not gonna judge them for like looking like they got older. Like it's called life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm not judging them, but
honestly,
it is noticeable.
I thought they looked great for considering it's been 29 years.
Yeah.
And I felt so sad when I found out it was 29 years. Like I'm just like, oh god, it's been 30 years almost since this film.
Yeah.
Wow. Wait. So I was 6 when this movie came out? 5? Wow, I can't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't watch this movie until I was like easily like 8 or 9.
Yeah, I didn't watch it in theaters or anything. So, but what did you guys think? Did you watch Hocus Pocus 2? Are you a fan of the first or the second one? Let us know your thoughts. Email us remakesrebootsrevivals@gmail.com. Hit us up on Instagram at remakesrebootsrevivals. On Twitter at remakes-podcast. Search for us on Facebook, facebook.com/remakesrebootsrevivals, and you can find us at YouTube, Remakes Reboots Revivals. And if you want to call in and leave a voicemail for us, you could call in at this number.
862-248-2326. That's 862-248-2326.
And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, if you enjoyed this podcast, please go to your listening platform and give us a rating. And if you can, leave a little review. That would also help. So yeah, thanks so much for listening, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. That's it.
That's what, yeah.
That's
yeah,
the ending.
that's it.
Until next time,
Stay
stay
an
unoriginal.
original.